From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I am Ahmed Ramadan. A new report is sharply criticizing major U.S. media and technology companies for weakening civil rights protections in the country. This and more on today's show. President Donald Trump has threatened that federal funding for sanctuary cities will end immediately, accusing those jurisdictions of shielding criminals, a claim local officials reject. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Trump said Washington would stop payments because he claimed that sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. Similar efforts to cut funding have faced legal challenges in the past. Sanctuary cities or states limit cooperation between local authorities and federal immigration agencies to ensure that residents can access services and report crimes without fear of deportation. Trump's statement marked a shift from a post last week on Truth Social, where he set a February 1st deadline. He also claimed that federal authorities were probing more than $19 billion in fraud in Minnesota, and that cutting fraud could balance the budget. Rights groups say the fraud rhetoric has been paired with attacks on Minnesota's Somali community and broader immigration enforcement. Trump added that Western countries should not mass import foreign cultures, which he described as unsuccessful. The Justice Department lists 12 sanctuary states, including California, Illinois, New York, and the District of Columbia. Calls are growing for a criminal investigation after new court filings revealed a major breach of the Social Security data of millions of Americans by the Trump administration. Advocacy groups are urging Congress to launch a full investigation into who accessed Americans' data and how it was used. Advocates and Democratic lawmakers say operatives at the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, accessed leaked sensitive Social Security records. The unit was previously overseen by billionaire Elon Musk. The Trump administration has acknowledged that DOGE staff accessed highly sensitive data in ways that may have violated agency rules on a March 2025 court order. The Department of Justice says the Social Security Administration cannot confirm what data was shared. According to the New York Times, a political advocacy group also contacted DOGE staff seeking an analysis of state voter rolls. Democratic Representatives John Larson and Richard Neal say they warned for months about privacy risks. They accuse DOGE appointees of abusing public trust and demand prosecutions. An internal memo from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, reveals that its agents have been told they can enter private homes without a judicial warrant. The move has triggered sharp criticism. The memo obtained by the Associated Press through a whistleblower disclosure argues that administrative warrants signed by ICE officials are enough to enter homes and make arrests. But legal experts say this directly conflicts with the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, which protects against unreasonable searches and seizures. The law requires warrants approved by a judge. The memo's disclosure was sent to the U.S. Senate by the nonprofit watchdog group Whistleblower Aid, a legal nonprofit organization that supports public and private sector individuals who report government or corporate misconduct and lawbreaking. The ICE policy was quietly shared with select supervisors. It was explained verbally to agents, including recruits with little law enforcement experience. Homeland Security officials claim that those targeted already face final removal orders and that administrative warrants are lawful in immigration cases. But critics insist that no court, including the U.S. Supreme Court, has ever approved warrantless home entry by ICE. Civil rights lawyers warn that ICE's secret policy undermines a core constitutional protection and should be openly debated, not enforced through hidden memos. A new report is sharply criticizing major U.S. media and technology companies for weakening civil rights protections in the country. The report comes from Free Press and focuses on the rollback of diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI policies after actions taken by President Donald Trump. The study says 26 of the 35 largest media companies scaled back diversity policies just days or weeks after Trump signed anti-DEI executive orders in January 2025. Several major firms, including Amazon, Disney, Google, Meta, the Fox Corporation, and X had already begun retreating from earlier commitments soon after Trump's election victory in November 2024. The report also links those rollbacks to regulatory pressures. Media and telecom companies such as NBC Universal, CBS, AT&T, and Verizon are set to have softened policies while seeking merger approvals from the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC. The report warns that instead of acting as a check on power, corporate media are amplifying political agendas. Free Press says they are putting vulnerable communities at greater risk and undermining democratic values. Student leaders at the University of Pittsburgh are calling for stronger protections for Muslim students and changes to campus emergency alerts. The Student Government Board discussing rising concerns about Islamophobia during its weekly meeting. Board President Marley Pinsky expressed concern after reports that an off-campus group shared Muslim students' information with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and the Department of Homeland Security. The off-campus group, Betar, is a Zionist organization that has been targeting students across the U.S. who advocate for Palestinian human rights. Earlier this month, an investigation by the New York State Attorney General's office found that Betar engaged in intimidation and violent threats against Muslim, Arab, Palestinian, and Jewish New Yorkers linked to protests over Israel's genocide in Gaza. As well, University of Pittsburgh Student Board member Kylie Baker said Muslim students have reported harassment at a campus library. Some said the staff stopped them from praying quietly. Baker said she is working with the Muslim Students Association and university officials to address discrimination. She has also proposed updating the university's emergency notification system. The goal is to alert students if ICE or other federal agents are present on campus. She said campus police initially resisted the idea, but talks will continue. Another board member warned that technical problems are preventing emergency alerts from reaching all campus buildings. President Donald Trump on Thursday formally rolled out his so-called Board of Peace in Davos, Switzerland. Details coming up next.
My name is Layla. I was an average kid until Zula Inc. broke into my life because my dad discovered time travel. After that, everything changed.
You're the new girl Layla, right?
Whoa! What if I don't fit in?
Abdullah!
Do I hear my name? Welcome to Vancouver, cuz.
Whoa!
You four have been specially chosen to take our project into the next generation.
You can time travel?
Abdullah! No! Abdullah! Where?
Do you really think I don't know why we had to leave Seattle, Mama?
Now here, keep these close. These should never leave your wrist.
This virtual reality game is crazy. You can even eat. This is reality, buddy. We zoomed through a wormhole.
Oh no, my Go Watch! It's gone!
What does this do?
That's Al-Khwarizmi. You know, the father of mathematics. It's because of him we have algorithms.
I will not stop until your legacy Everyone's legacy lies in ruins. Of course it was you. You little rascals ruined everything.
Your fate will be great. Just don't give up.
Time hoppers.
President Donald Trump on Thursday announced the creation of what he described as a Board of Peace during a signing ceremony held on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. The announcement comes as Gaza faces unprecedented humanitarian crisis following the US-backed Israeli genocide, which has killed tens of thousands of Palestinians, displaced the vast majority of the population, and left much of the enclave uninhabitable. International human rights groups and UN agencies have warned that Gaza's civilian infrastructure, including hospitals, water systems, and housing, has been systematically destroyed by Israel. Trump said the initiative would focus on Gaza's demilitarization, governance, and reconstruction, presenting it as the foundation for a broader international role. He said the board's mandate could later expand to address other global crises. Legal experts and humanitarian organizations have raised concerns about plans for Gaza that are developed without the participation or consent of Palestinians, warning that externally imposed governance structures could violate international law, including the right to self-determination. Critics have also cautioned that reconstruction efforts risk normalizing large-scale displacement and destruction without accountability for alleged violations of international humanitarian law and genocide. A senior White House official said approximately 35 world leaders have so far agreed to participate out of roughly 50 invitations issued. The initiative reportedly carries a $1 billion cost for permanent membership. Trump said the board would work with the United Nations, while sharply criticizing the organization for what he described as a failure to use its tremendous potential. UN officials have repeatedly emphasized that any durable resolution for Gaza must be grounded in international law, civilian protection, and accountability. Representatives from multiple countries signed the organization's founding documents at the event. Israeli soldiers killed at least 4 Palestinians in Gaza on Thursday as President Donald Trump launched what he is calling a Board of Peace initiative at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Medical sources at Al Shifa Hospital report that Israeli artillery fire killed 4 people in eastern Gaza City. Separately, Palestinian civil defense officials report that an infant died from hypothermia during a severe cold spell in the central Gaza due to the Israeli blockade. Witnesses say Israeli warplanes and artillery struck multiple areas, including eastern Gaza City, Bureij refugee camp, and eastern Khan Yunis, despite the announcement of a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas on October 10. Air raids and shelling were reported in the Zaytuna and Shujaya neighborhoods. Israel continues to occupy large buffer zones covering more than half of Gaza. Since the so-called ceasefire, Israel has killed nearly 500 Palestinians amid tight restrictions on life-saving aid to Gaza's 2 million residents. The renewed Israeli assault comes as Trump says the new board will work with the United Nations to promote peace far beyond Gaza. Israel's genocidal war on Gaza has killed more than 71,565 Palestinians and wounded over 171,400 others, most of them women and children, since October 2023. Israel's far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir has approved gun permits for residents of 18 more illegal Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank. The decision applies to settlements across the northern, central, and southern West Bank, as well as the Jordan Valley settlement of Goder. Ben-Gvir says the move is part of his expanded firearms policy aimed at what he called self-defense and community security. Under the new measure, illegal Israeli settlers in the added locations can apply for personal gun licenses. The minister says more than 240,000 Israelis have received permits since the policy was widened, compared with about 8,000 issued annually in earlier years. The policy, launched in late 2023 after Israel's genocide in Gaza began, has drawn criticism inside Israel, especially following accidental shootings. Palestinian officials say Israeli settler violence has surged, killing more than 1,100 Palestinians and injuring thousands across the West Bank since October 2023. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation, or OIC, has strongly condemned Israel's demolition of buildings belonging to the UN Relief and Works Agency, or UNRWA, in Israeli-occupied East Jerusalem. UNRWA was established more than 70 years ago to assist Palestinians displaced from their homeland. The OIC says the move violates the UN Charter, relevant UN resolutions, the advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice, and the 1946 Convention protecting UN bodies. The 57-member intergovernmental body says targeting UNRWA is part of efforts to undermine the Palestinian refugee issue by weakening the agency's role and existence. It stresses that UNRWA represents the international community's responsibility toward Palestinian refugees and their rights. The OIC has urged the UN Security Council to act to protect UNRWA's mandate, facilities, and staff, and compel Israel to comply with international law. Israeli forces, accompanied by far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, demolished structures at the agency's headquarters in Sheikh Jarrah on Tuesday. It was the second raid in less than a month. Israeli strikes on southern Lebanon killed at least 2 people and wounded 19 others on Wednesday, despite a ceasefire in place in the region since November 2024. 2 of the injured were moved to intensive care, 3 were hospitalized, and others were treated in emergency rooms. Lebanon's state news agency said an Israeli drone strike hit a car on the Zahrani-Msaile road, killing 1 person. Another drone attack on a vehicle near Tyre killed a 2nd civilian. Israel's military said the strikes targeted 2 members of Hezbollah. There was no immediate response from the group or the Lebanese government. Israeli warplanes also hit buildings in several southern villages after issuing evacuation warnings online. The strikes came as Beirut said it has, for the first time in decades, largely re-established state control south of the Litani River. Israel began operations against Lebanon in October 2023, escalating into full-scale war last year, killing or wounding thousands of Lebanese citizens. American technology giants are moving fast to shape how Africa connects to the internet. Amazon has secured a license to launch its low Earth orbit satellite broadband service in Nigeria. That move puts it in direct competition with Starlink, which already operates widely across the continent. Both aim to serve areas where fiber and mobile networks remain weak or absent. Africa is the least connected region in the world. Only about 38% of people were online in 2024, leaving hundreds of millions without access. That gap has made the continent a prime growth market. Alongside satellites, the battle is also happening under the sea. Meta is building the massive To Africa subsea cable around the continent. Google has expanded the high-capacity links between Africa and Europe. Meanwhile, Microsoft is backing projects to connect millions more users through alternative networks. Experts say competition could lower prices, but concerns remain over foreign control of critical digital infrastructure and data sovereignty across Africa. A new study shows that daily use of artificial intelligent chatbots is responsible for depression among Americans. A report in the Journal of the American Medical Association says people who use AI tools every day face a 30% higher likelihood of moderate depression compared with occasional users. The survey covered more than 20,000 adults across the U.S. between April and May 2025. Approximately 10.3% said they use generative AI daily. Nearly half of respondents turned to chatbots several times a day. Younger users appeared more affected than older adults. Researchers caution the findings are not conclusive and call for further study. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our content. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.